I'm a hustler, baby. Welcome to Race Talk Show, the talk show that helps you escape the cage of an uninspiring job for a life of wealth and personal satisfaction. Thank you so much for joining us. This is your virtual big brother, Ray Collazo. We do Race Talk Show live every Tuesday and Thursday night, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. And as I love to say, whatever time they feel like it is in Arizona. Thank you again so much for joining us. And again, for the podcast listeners, thank you so much for listening to Race Podcast, which you can always subscribe to on iTunes or anywhere you can listen to a podcast. And sometimes there's exclusive content on the podcast feed. So even if you check us out on either the live or replay version of the Blab Show, I definitely encourage you to subscribe to Race Podcast by downloading subscribing to Race Podcast on iTunes or again anywhere you can check out a podcast. I want to say ciao to our co-host again, our fearless co-host who's back again. Thank you so much for joining us, Maria Florio. Maria,
hello.
Benvenuti. Welcome back, my friend.
Grazie. It's a pleasure to be here again.
Yes. And at some point, Maria will teach me to say a handful of words in Italian because it's hey, I mean it's like I said, the Collazos have a family crest in the other Madre Patria. So I'm sure somewhere along the line, our Italian roots have to come out at some point. So anyhow, we have Genergy in the building, Tachi, Kelly, a lot of our great friends. We definitely encourage you all to be on this show. I don't know if Genergy, she was one of our first fans of the podcast, Maria. So
Woo-hoo.
It's after pro that she's on this, joining us on the show. So Genergy and Tachi and Kelly, you're welcome to. We'll get about 15 minutes into the show and then we'll open up the chairs. We're really happy to. Some great friends here, and of course Kelly. Always a pleasure to have her with us as well. And our podcast community and Blab community is always very special to us. Maria, today on this episode of Race Talk Show, we wanted to serve our Race Talk Show community to discuss the most valuable thing we have, which is time.
Yes.
And so many of us are building skills to grow our careers, grow as people. And as part of that, develop a side business. And we just never seem to have enough time for everything. Maria, is that as an entrepreneur, a versatile entrepreneur that you are, is that a feeling that you felt over the years?
Oh, yes. I've had to work through it. I've had my frustrations, patience to try and get to that perfect or the sweet spot. And I still haven't reached it yet. So I can relate big time.
But again, as we said on last week's show, Maria and I are not gurus. We're not experts. We haven't figured it all out. But we did want to share on Race Talk Show today the Hustler Time Management Guide. From our experiences, some guidance and some help to maximize the precious time that we have for the life of wealth and personal satisfaction that we all crave. There's no doubt about it. And as we reveal our Hustler Time Management Guide, we actually have a 10 commandments, if you will, of the guide. Listen intently because we're going to squeeze in an extra bonus for you throughout the show. We're going to reveal elements of a time management system that I'm attempting to utilize in my own career, where you can squeeze 5 more months out of the year. Maria, wouldn't it be nice to figure out how to find 5 more months out of a year?
Yes. Yeah, that's actually quite excellent. I want to squeeze in 5 more months in the year.
You got to do it. So definitely get your notepads out and, or at least, you can type it on your phone, on your notepad. Definitely get it out because we're going to reveal it. And it'll be all once we post the show at bigbrotherray.com and racepodcast.com. We'll have it as part of the show notes. So Maria, so in terms of our tips, the top 10 tips, we wanted to start with the Hustler's Guide for Time Management. The first one, which I think is very important, which is, you need to take your side hustle seriously. Oftentimes when we have a day job and we have a career, we look at, we sort of, because we don't have the ability for whatever reason to sort of work on our passion on a full-time basis, we kind of treat it that way. We treat it as a side thing. And whether you work on your passion, your calling for 80 hours a week or 5 hours a week, you have to take it during that time just as seriously. Maria, what are your thoughts on my thoughts about the first thing is you kind of develop a mindset around making your side hustle work from a time management perspective is to treat it with the priority that it deserves in your life.
You're spot on. That's actually one of those first challenges that I think most entrepreneurs, virtual or not, side hustlers, they all face, or especially as a side business, because you don't put it, you keep it on the side and you never make it a priority, or sometimes life gets in the way, or the limited time, which is why we're talking about it now, to try and make it that priority. However, it can work out for you, but if it's not a priority, you can't succeed in it. So.
That's right. That's right. And Maria, you have our second sort of golden rule commandment to our hustler's guide for everybody today.
Yes, I do. And I would say, to me, it's actually one of the most important ones and has worked really well. And it's about knowing yourself. No matter what system or what guidance, they all help, but you have to know yourself. I've tried things that didn't work and would get frustrated with myself. And instead of, stopping at the frustration, I would take a minute and ask myself, why do I think I'm not making the time? What is not working? If you don't know yourself, you can't figure out what works for you.
Give me an example of what didn't work. Was it a system? Was it what was not working?
For example, having lists. Lists don't work for me unless I'm ready to do what I put on my list. And the time management is very important, figuring out where you can allocate your time. But if I'm not ready to start, let's say I'm writing a book and I keep postponing it. So the list, putting it on my to-do list didn't work for me.
You gotta write the book, girl.
I know, exactly. So I figured out, yeah.
So, I hear you. And we're going to talk a little bit in the show about kind of styles and systems. What we're not this is not an episode that's going to focus a ton on sort of the hack elements of it. Oftentimes when we think about time management, a lot of people turn to the tool, but that's like, the apps and we're going to touch a little bit about that. And that, we should utilize tools for how they can service us. And as Maria just said, you want to use, whether it's tools, systems, styles, you want to use something that fits with you and kind of the way you operate best. But it's like health. A lot of times people look to medicine as the way to cure your health issues.
Yep.
When in fact, the medicine is sort of a symptom of a larger problem. So what we're going to discuss today with the guide, the Hustler Time Management Guide, is really to a mindset and the elements of a foundation of your mindset and how you basically are going to live your life with this side hustle being a big part of it. That again, if that's not in place, it doesn't matter what apps you're using or, sort of the latest technology. So, Maria, what's your thoughts about kind of that element of kind of the importance of the mindset really being the key to developing a side hustle, whether it's a passion or an online business?
I actually, it ties really well with the knowing yourself. The mindset is everything. And I'm excited to hear about the guide since it's basing it on that mindset, the mindset, how you organize your thoughts and how you decide to approach something is what counts. So knowing yourself and understanding your own mindset, or finding ways to gear your mindset towards making that side hustle a priority, is what's going to help you achieve those goals.
That's right. And I'm going to actually, with that note, Maria, before we get to the third commandment, third element of the guide, I wanted to start sharing a little bit, speaking of mindset, about how we can squeeze this 5 months.
Yeah.
And it really speaks to, like you just said, the mindset, right? So as an example, the first thing is that the first bulk of time that I look at when it comes to where I can squeeze more time out of the day. And for people that don't know, I not only have a fairly substantive day job that keeps me pretty busy and has a fair amount of responsibility to it on a national level for the kind of organizing work that I do. But I have a young family, young, vibrant wife, young kids that have a ton of energy, and we keep them busy. So, we got a lot going on. But the first thing that really starts with my day once I drop my kids off is, how do I use my commuting time? So the average American commutes about 50 minutes total a day. So let's say, for sake of argument, because you got to get out of your car, you got to pay a toll, you got to park. There's a little moving time where you won't be able to do much of anything. Let's say you use 40 minutes of that 50 every day. to work on your business. And we'll talk about how we can do that in a second, because I know people are like, what, I'm moving. If you used that 40 minutes 5 days a week, just 5 days a week, that would free up almost a month of total time.
Wow.
So if you just extrapolate the math on that out of a 50 week, 50 weeks out of a year. And so people say, well, but I'm traveling. There's a lot you can do. I have a friend that Facebook messaged me at 12:30 in the morning last night. But they were able to do that because they know my style. Now, I didn't respond to them because I didn't look up and see it till about 3 in the morning. But my point is that just because you're driving at 8:15 in the morning, and again, do things out of safety, but you can be talking to people you're collaborating with on a hands-free. You can be talking to a potential client on a hands-free. If you're in a train or a bus, you can be reading. You can be checking your emails. Genergy puts in the chat. She reads and writes and comes up with ideas on the train. I know Genergy also, particularly from a personal development perspective, which is part of building your business, is a podcast listener, as well as many of us are. So, this is time, sure. Do we try to sneak a catnap in on the train, or do we like to zone out and just listen to our favorite morning show DJ in the mornings driving? There's nothing wrong with that. I love sport talk radio. I'm not a robot, but the bottom line is it's about mindset.
Yeah.
Is this a priority for you? And is this time you could be using to feed your mind and work toward your dream? This is a gift of almost a month of time. There's almost 4 weeks. And that's assuming you're using, X amount 5 days a week. What if you have a longer commute? What if you just have other free time that you could be using? So that's the first. I've already knocked off a month for you, Maria.
Yeah,
and the math.
Exactly.
And if anyone wants to see the math, I'll send it to you. I think it's very quite reasonable. So we'll get to another part of the puzzle for the 5 math formula here. But Maria, let's get to the third element of our Hustler Time Management Guide today for our Raise Talk Show listeners.
Yes. So we love testing, don't we? Testing and patience. Any guide, any system is going to require some testing. So whether it's commuting and thinking about, let's say it's better to make phone calls, or you're more productive reading books or working on your strategy, you want to test it. You want to be patient with yourself. At least, again, that's what I tried doing with myself, to say, okay, hold on, let's test another way. And that works for the mindset. That works for if you're testing the commute. So test.
Yeah, no, and it's interesting because I think a lot of times we, especially with the sort of life hack stuff, I think we feel the pressure to sort of utilize or embrace whatever the latest thing is. So, there's so many time management systems, or so many like Slack is hot now. And so it's all about like Slack and using Slack. And it's like, if a daily task list that you type on a Word doc, or you literally write it down, works for you, then it works. What I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and I think you're right. I think you do want to try different systems to see, again, what works for you, because you're, different and different types of tasks involve different, so for sort of daily task monitoring, I use very simple systems. But when it comes to how do I communicate with clients, collaborate with people, it's funny because, it's complicated now, because you have to kind of figure out, I have my whole Facebook message world, because I know there's people, the only way I can get to them is Facebook. And then there's some people you can only text. And then there's some people you can only get on like a DM on Twitter. Felix Montalado is one of my Twitter buddy. A lot of these are my Twitter DM buddies. So a lot of, so it's just, you've gotta be comfortable with probing and testing. And it goes back to this concept of, oftentimes we feel scared of the concept of failing. Yeah. And we feel like, wow, this doesn't work. And I've changed I've adjusted my brand, my image of this show several times in the last couple of years. So, sort of testing and kind of feeling things out is nothing wrong with that. And if you're not doing that, that means you're not really pushing yourself to grow. Maria, what's an example of a system or a time where you sort of had to test some things out that worked for you?
Well, I loved the guide point, the first point on commuting, because it's arranged around something that you can work with. So when I work, again, the list, I go back to the list because that's what I started. That was what everybody's saying, write a to-do list. So I did test it, and initially doing this list didn't work. But what did work was trying to figure out where I was more productive. And then I also timed myself on my own by writing. So I kept the list, but I also timed, and then I reduced the list to include only those things that I knew I would get to. And for those things that I wasn't making time for, I looked at my mindset. I looked at, so if I am commuting, am I proactive more in the morning or in the afternoon? So maybe I would use that commute time in order to do something in the afternoon if in the morning I'm really brain dead.
That's cool. That's cool. And a lot of great interaction going on. Want to give a shout out. Latino Connect and Felix Montalva look like they might be collaborating on a feature on Latino Connect magazine, which I highly recommend, Donna. I mean, Felix would be so amazing. He is our financial literacy guru, the Potencial Millonario, the potential millionaire brand leader. So definitely a good collaboration. And Felix and Tatiari are anchor buddies that are now hanging out on Blab. And if anyone would like to join, feel free to jump into the chat. Jump on the cam. We've got so many good people. Coach is in the building. I love to refer Mr. Gerard as Coach. My high school, by the way, speaking of coaching, my high school, I'm from the north. I'm from the hood in Philadelphia. We're big into basketball. My high school, Roman Catholic high school, just made the finals again in the state championships in hoops. So we won last year, the whole state. So we're really excited about. If anyone knows Marvin Harrison, the former NFL great, was him and I went to high school together. He was the athlete. I was one of the nerdy guys. But my point is that my little Catholic school in the hood produces quite a sports tradition. So really excited that they're doing well. But a lot of good collaboration happening in the chat. Again, if Tachi or anyone else would like to join the show, Genergy, it'd be great to have you debut on the video cam here on Blab. Feel free to jump in, and we'd love to get your thoughts on time management on the show and with your voice. And the other cool thing would be if people on the chat could chime in on where they are seeing best practices, either with apps or systems that they're using for time management, as well as what's working for them. So that would be great. So let me give you another. As my associate producer sneaks into the screen here. He's such an amp.
Hi.
He is way past his bedtime, but he loves the camera like his daddy. So I'm going to give you guys another part of the time mechanism here, which is, okay, so we're utilizing our commuting time. And so, appreciate it, Felix. And so most of us get an hour for lunch. A lot of us get half hour, 45 minutes for lunch, right? Yeah. So if you use the half hour of that hour just 4 times a week, I'm not even saying every day, because once a week you go out with your coworkers, you want to hang out. If you just use the half hour, you're talking about squeezing 2 hours a week, right? That gives you another over 2.5 weeks in the year. Wow. If you just use that time. Now, the reality is what happens, what I find what happens, and he is having too much fun back here. The reality is what happens is that, oh, you are too much, Max. The reality is that people usually that are at unfulfilling jobs, or they're bored, that hour is either their hour of escape, so they totally zone out. I've been in jobs where people are taking naps in like a lounge, or smoking, or binge eating, or just diving into something totally different to get it, because they're just so frankly depressed that they're at this job and they feel trapped. That this is like their time to escape. So it's really sad. And so my thing is, why don't we reinvest that time into ourselves? And again, I'm not saying you're not going to eat. Take a half hour. But again, if you just took a half hour 4 days a week, you give yourselves almost 3 more weeks. So again, it's a mindset.
Yes.
Are we just gonna throw hands in the air? I mean, look, the reality is, and we talk about this in episode 189, the art of side hustling, which I did with another co-host of ours, and regular contributor, Alicia Santos. The reality is, we're just going to quit?
Yeah.
Or we're going to fight? And you got to come to the realization that, okay, I have to do something on the side because I have responsibilities. Take me in point. So it's probably going to take me, 3-4 years to where I really got to go. Yeah. But guess what? I'm going to make it. Yeah. And I have to be at peace with the fact that's my reality. And by the way, most people wish I had that kind of problem. Oh, I've got a stable job and I can figure it out on the side. I mean, you know, what's the alternative? You get thrown in the deep end of the pool, right? So, so anyway, so that's so I'd like to do, Maria, is definitely. Why don't you take the next point number 4? I'm going to make you the one of the co-hosts formally. You're one of the co-hosts, of course, but just for technical reasons, I want to make sure the co-host. I got to step away, make sure he gets to where he's got to go. But continue the show, and again, go into the 4th point of our commandments of our Hustler's Guide for Time Management, which is very very timely. And I'll be right back, everybody.
Yep. So our 4th is research, and research by research, I mean different stories. At least for me, there's been a lot of inspirational stories by other entrepreneurs or side hustlers that have great time management tips. Now, again, because I think testing is important, not all of them can work for you, but there's a lot of success stories that can help you not only persevere and keep looking into different ways that you can improve your time and use it wisely and give you that boost of energy that you need as a support to continue your side hustle. So researching, and there's a lot of websites that can help you. I mean, I go to, for example, entrepreneur.com or inc.com, or I'll do a Google search and, you know, time management tips. Then there's well, I don't look at too many entrepreneurs per se specifically, unless a colleague or someone passes them on to me. But, you know, it's like reading an article will then lead you to find another article, and just keep searching until you find that system and that person that provides you with the exact tips you need. I actually once came across an article where this entrepreneur, he explained it in such a great way about how time for himself was important to exercise and yes, take your side. and that the way he said it was, I'd rather give up a client than give up on my exercise time, because without the exercise, I'll lose energy, I'll feel worse, and then that ends up bringing me into a state of mind where I'm no longer productive. That was really great, and it really triggered me to get healthy, because until then I had the biggest problem with trying to figure out when I could squeeze in that exercise. And he didn't say anything different than maybe you would find somewhere else, but somehow the way he made the relationship with his success and exercise, it made sense. And from that day forth, I've included time to make sure that I get that exercise that I need. So it's definitely important to research and find those articles that hit that right spot. And you don't know what it is until you read through it. So,
Maria, what have you found? Are there any of these? There's lots of gurus out there that talk about this. Are any of them, or what have you found has resonated for you on this piece?
Specifically this piece, as in the research.
Yeah. I mean, have you found any of these time management, you know, I mean, one of the seminal ones in this generation was the 4-Hour Workweek with Tim Ferriss. As an example,
I have got that. I haven't finished reading it yet. Yeah. And I like your guide because it's building upon life. It's building upon how you live your life on a daily basis. It's not only if you're a side hustler, really, it's if you're doing a business. The commute is part of every day, and so was the lunch break. So you can find something that works with you. When it comes to systems, on the other hand, I haven't read the 4-Hour Workweek, but someone said it's really, really great. So I'm going to read it, but if it doesn't sync with me, it won't help me. So yeah, it really depends. It's not one person, and it's not a guru or an influencer. It's more of how they say it. And if I feel that I get it.
I think the big thing with that one, and again, people are welcome to join the show. We've got successful entrepreneurs, sidepreneurs, and people that just have a lot of really good ideas on this subject. Feel free to join the show. And thank you, Maria, for taking over the reins while I put the little guy to sleep. So he's like his daddy. He's a night owl. What can I tell you? Yeah. But everybody else here is long gone. But he's okay now. He's with mommy. But the interesting thing about Tim Ferriss, and it'll be in the show notes, and it's a very well-known read, is that it really does challenge the orthodoxies around time and, efficiency, kind of working smart versus working hard, and kind of thinking about some of these best practices around the mindset and kind of how we normally think about it. I do have there's someone that's been on the show quite a bit, David Castro. from who has a book called Jennership, which really kind of speaks to more sort of management and sort of group efficiencies. So how we can get more creativity and more sort of a communal spirit around building dynamic organizations. So he's got some really interesting thoughts around leadership and kind of breaking down some of these old paradigms. So, and we really appreciate everyone who's jumping in on the show. And again, people are welcome to join the show if they have any thoughts about time management, and particularly for side hustlers, and just want to be part of the conversation. It would be interesting if we can start this on the chat, but not only what systems are working for you with time management, but where do you work best? That's an interesting one. So are any Starbucks workers, out there, or, do you have to be in a library someplace, or do you like to, kind of work collaboratively or on the beach, there's lots of elements to this. What's our fifth principle here for the Side Hustlers Time Management Guide, Maria?
Balance. You want to be balanced, work-life balance. So make sure you're not pushing yourself too hard. So find your system, but also take time to enjoy life. Life's too short, carpe diem. So make sure you include your own time. And if you're feeling overworked, then you need to step back, take a break, and figure out your time management. What are you doing wrong? If you're doing it right, balance is included in that. There is some of your own time. But
yeah, this one is so important, and it's one of the hardest. It has been one of the hardest ones for me because, again, I have a family, and I'm by nature. I take great pride. I had a grandfather that was an extremely hard worker, and that's like a source of pride for me. And it's like, well, the harder I'm working, that means I'm kind of working close to his goal, and I've got to work kind of smarter, not harder. And part of that is the balance piece, right? So. On a personal level, I have struggled over the last few years, like getting enough sleep. That's like my biggest one. And then at times, you feel like the pressure to mix and match, right? So, I mean, it's so easy. I mean, I'm sitting here with my little guys, and it's so easy to look at your phone, to look at social media, or try to sneak in an email. And, when you sort of don't compartmentalize your time, it's not fair to anybody. It's not fair to you and what you're trying to focus on. And it's certainly not fair to your family. So I think, that balance piece is so important. And again, it forces you to not only sort of, that's so important because it does force you to make decisions and really think about the mindset here, right? So I do the shows 10 p.m. Why do I do the shows 10 p.m. Eastern? Because that doesn't cut into family time. Yeah, on occasion my little guy sneaks in for a minute, but he's past his bedtime, right? So my point is that's, but it has been, you have to take what you have and work to an advantage. So one of the things that's been good about doing it at 10 p.m. is there's people that, kind of are in my position, right, on the East Coast. So it's like, well, it's kind of good for me to at least watch Joe then because I'm not as busy with family commitments. And then it sort of has encouraged me to reach out to people in the Western part of the country to be guests and be engaged with the show. So it kind of has more of a national feel because they're not all just local friends or people from one region of the country. So it kind of gives the show, it's a better show because of that. So you have to kind of, don't use these things as obstacles, look at opportunities, but ultimately, definitely, you gotta live your life. I mean, I'm not gonna, there's certain things I'm not gonna compromise, and I've made some of those mistakes, so I'm learning from that. So, so on that point, speaking about sort of prioritizing and balance, the biggest chunk, I want to reveal the biggest chunk of time that if you use it properly, or I would suggest you consider how you're reusing it, or many of us are using it, can get us much closer to that 5-month threshold. This is like in politics, winning, getting all the delegates in California. Yeah. This is the big one. So Maria, you may or may not realize, I mean, it's one of these things you kind of know, but until you read it, you don't realize it. The average American watches over 5 hours of television a day.
Wow.
Think about that. 5 hours of TV a day. Now that breaks up between cable and Netflix, and I'm sure some people are live streaming while they're commuting, no doubt about that. So my suggestion is this: 5 hours a day, 7 days a week is 35 hours. If you just took 10 of those hours, so I'm talking about 2 out of those 5 hours, 5 days a week, not even every day, right? So you can still binge watch Game of Thrones or whatever you binge watch on the weekend. You would save over 3 months a year. If you
That's-
just took 40% of your weekday television, the average person, right? So even if you're like, well, I don't watch that much television. I watch 20 hours a week. Well, once you took half. Well, I like to watch, every Thursday, every Thursday night's date night with my wife and or my partner, and we watch all the ABC shows. We watch, Scandal and all those shows. That's fine. I'm not saying take all your TV. I'm not saying be a robot. But the reality, because nobody's going to take my sports. Like I said, I'm talking about taking 2 of the 5 hours just during the week.
Yeah.
Somebody told me something which was really interesting. I was at a business seminar once. And the guy, it's funny, this guy looked like an athlete. It was interesting. He looked like a big baseball player in Philly, right? And he said, it's funny because who's here the Eagle fan? Yeah, I'm Philadelphia. Yeah. He said, you watch the game every Sunday, right? I said, yeah. That's like 4 hours out of your day, on a Sunday, half the year almost. He said, isn't that ironic that many of us prioritize sitting down to watch other people who are living out their dream, but we don't prioritize investing that same time into living our dream.
Yeah. And
I never thought of it that way. And it's really interesting because the bottom line is, look, I'm not a prude. I like to go to movies and hang out with my kids and have a good time. I'll be having with a few of these people a cocktail in Miami soon. I'm a social person. So I'm not saying, sacrifice your whole life over this. But the bottom line is, if you're watching 30 hours a week of television, could you cut out 10 for yourself? Yeah. That's all I'm saying. And if you do that, that will give you over 3 months of time. It's unbelievable. What are your thoughts on that, Maria?
That's amazing. I didn't know it was 5 hours, but just 2 hours. If your side hustle, if your business or your passion is a priority, eliminating 2 hours out of the 5 hours you watch of TV should not be a problem.
And that's just 5 days a week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And look, Like I said, it don't have to be like regimented. It's like, hey, I'm going to carve out, Tuesday night and Sunday half a day or whatever, to get to that time. But the bottom line is, do we really have to watch, that much TV? Probably not. So.
And it's not even that. If let's say you want to wind down, some people watch TV to wind down, but really if you have another 3 hours left to watch, like 2 hours and being productive and doing something you're passionate about, you should actually want to do it, I would assume.
That's right. So a lot of good. Again, I'm always amazed by the kind of collaboration happening in our chats. It looks like Genergy and Latino Connect might be doing some business here, which is good. So I think you two will get along very well. Both very big into the culture and the arts. So I think some of Genergy's potential writing would be right up your alley, Dennis. I'm glad you guys are connecting. So, and there's been lots. Always appreciate you guys' interaction. Again, the chairs are open. Feel free to jump on anybody. So the sixth element of our Side Hustler Time Management Guide is, and I've been utilizing this a lot better, I must say, is the concept of blocking, scheduling, and bundling time. The famous case of this, Maria, if you're aware, and I know our hardcore podcasters are aware of this, is that one of the big podcasters in the game, John Lee Dumas, often talks about how he bundles all of he's a daily podcaster. He does a 7-day-a-week podcast, and he talks about how, hey, coach, I'll get to you in a second. Talks about how he does his 7 interviews a week on Mondays. And that's all he does on Mondays. So he sort of bundles time, I guess. And I guess that comes from his military background. And so one of the things I'm finding is that the more I sort of schedule the time, so schedule in this case, my day stuff, schedule my personal stuff, I'm going to do this particular type of task because it's conducive for me, either because it's late at night or it's, I'm in a certain mindset that's good for that, or it's business hours where I can call people and do kind of the interactive stuff. The more, and again, it's about prioritizing your time, really kind of looking at your schedule, honestly assessing, documenting, okay, what am I doing with myself here? Am I taking this seriously? Am I dedicating the kind of time I need to do? So, blocking and bundling the time to do your side hustle and not just leaving it up to, sort of the spirits and when it moves you, it's very important. And Mr. Del Gerard, Coach Del 22 is in the building. How are you? Welcome to Race Talk Show, Coach.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing? First time on your talk show. We met a short time ago, and so when I came on, I said, let me go see who's on Blab. And I was just getting ready to start eating, and I said, oh, Brother Ray's on, so let me go check him out. And then so it's good to get a shout out, but at the same time, it's like, let me finish eating And then because you called me out, I gotta come on at least say hello.
Well, that's how I am. I'll call people out in a minute. I don't have no problems with that because you know what I find is that this is what happens, Coach, with me because I got my Maria's part of our core sort of Ray's crew here, and then we have all this incredible. And I know all these people that come on the shows. Most of the people that watch are friends, personal friends, and they have these amazing conversations on the side. And I'm like, por favor, please help me out here. I'm like, I'm popular to believe I don't want to talk. I don't want to be the one talking all the time. So anyway, Coach, what do you think about this time management conversation we're having today on Ray's Talk Show?
Well, I think it's a necessary component to your success. And so I don't know all the other points because I came in right when you were going to start point
That's
4.
Okay. Give us some knowledge, please.
If you want to be successful in anything, and regardless what you think, feel, or believe about it, we have to be able to manage ourselves. And when I look at time management, I come from the athletic background, and I started in elementary school. 4th, 5th, and 6th graders. Okay, we got 2 classes, an average of 60 to 65 kids. On average, we have 45 minutes. Okay, as a physical education instructor, how do you get what you want to do with 4th through 6th graders, 60 plus of them in 45 minutes? You got the first 5 minutes is gone because you got roll call and discipline and, hey, get in line, shut up, be quiet, all that stuff. And you got the last 5 minutes with, all right, put in the equipment, let's go. So technically you got 35 minutes, but you got at least 5 minutes to explain the rules and regulations.
Yeah.
But you can't just take the long route. You got, less is more. So now you're down to 30 minutes and you want at least 3 things that you want to do. And really it's a maximum of 3, but sometimes you get 4 of explaining, letting them demonstrate, letting them get a feel for it, and then actual play. So we really had to break up our time in blocks. And this is where your team leaders, you get in groups of 4, get in groups of 5. Okay, pick a leader. You got 10 seconds. Monkey, gorilla. All the monkeys come over here. All the gorilla. I mean, we were creative. And so the success of that depended on quick. And once the kids were excited and they knew the routine, it was easy because we knew we had a certain amount of time. Like you said, we blocked it off. And then we knew what we wanted to do within that. So even in your business, and I like what you said, I think you said John Lee Dumas on Monday, he's making calls. Okay, so do you have a specific day that you're making calls versus a specific day that you're, let's say in my case, you're leaving the house and you go canvassing? That I'm going to 2 days a week in the morning for 3 hours, I'm going out cold calling, literally business to business, knocking on doors. That's one of the things I do. Okay. Or do you know that you're going to make phone calls at a certain length of time? I'm going to make for the next 2 hours. I'm just going to be making phone calls. I'm not going to be receiving any calls. So we're really talking about time management, as I see it, is really a way to manage yourself within a certain span of time to get certain things that you want done. And how do you decide on that depends on the goals that you're trying to accomplish and the tasks that you're going to put in those time slots to do that. You want to, like you said, stack them or bundle them together so you can get more done. So if I know I'm going to be out at the end of that, I know I got a small window. I might even go shopping, get that grocery shopping out of there while I'm doing that on my lunch break or whatever, and then come back in. So that's what really we're talking about, managing ourselves within a span of time.
We didn't, and Michael Muse has joined us in the chat. Always great to see Michael around. So and all of our friends here at Ray's Talk Show. Coach, I wanted to ask you a question. One of the things you sort of referenced in your comments is, and God bless you for working with these young people. I'll tell you, boy, nothing more important than that.
A lot of energy.
That's right. I have too. I don't know how you handle 65, but it's sort of building these sort of mini goals and sort of this series of accomplishments and benchmarks within these timeframes. How is that important? And young people or people in general sort of respond to that, like having sort of within this time frame, sort of a mission to accomplish. Then you sort of have that sense of accomplishment, even though it's a relatively small task.
Absolutely, yes. Now, here's what I mean by that. and I keep looking down. The camera's actually up.
I know. I'm the same way, my
Okay.
man. I'm looking at you, and I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, don't worry about it.
The camera's up here and everything's.
They say it's only blab, right?
Yeah, it's
Yep.
only blab, but I'm gonna look in the camera. I'm not used to this, so I'm gonna look into the.
You're looking good, man. You're looking good. I wish I could grow my beard out like that. Look distinguished like you, Coach.
Oh,
The eyes are the window to the soul, so I want you to look at it.
yes,
man.
they are.
So bottom line is, look, everybody wants to be successful in something, but we're always trying to go from zero to the top immediately. It doesn't happen like that. Everything is a process.
That's right.
And I love, from the biblical standpoint, it says in the process of time, or and it came to pass. Well, if you want to get good at anything, you need repetition. But repetition takes time. You start at one level and you're going to the next level. We're not trying to go quantum leap. We're trying to go to the next level. And once we're at that level, the new standard is this level, but we're trying to go to the next level. And then once we're comfortable there, that's the next level. That's how you build confidence. So small victories or small wins creates the confidence. So we want to create in the kids, and even in your business, even in adults, success. But there's always that fear factor, that lack of confidence, a lack of it. So I call it a 3-foot toss. And what really a 3-foot toss is simply, if I told you to go out and get a laundry basket and put it 3 feet away from you, and then get a stuffed animal, you could lean over, you're 3 feet away, and I tell you to drop it in there, and I tell you to do that for about 20 minutes. After a while, you're going, come on, I am so confident. I'm not going to miss this thing. I can drop it with my eyes closed. And then I say, okay, no problem. Back up to 5 feet. You're going to lean. You're going to go, no problem. All of a sudden, I say back up to 10 feet. And all of a sudden, you go, oh, there's something inside that goes, I'm not sure. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So it takes time to build up to that. So the little steps are extremely important. Small wins creates the confidence. And confidence is a byproduct of risk. So is success. You have to risk. So is failure. You have to risk. Which one do you want more? The one you focus on. Yeah. Okay, see, so that's what I'm saying. So it is very important that you take baby steps along the way so you can build to where you want to go. And if you look at life in anything, you build a building, you want to create something, you always start with that, the foundation, and then you build from there. And that's what I'm talking about right now. So thanks for the question, Coach, or Brother Ray.
That's right.
I call people Coach too.
Well, we're such kindred spirits. It's hard to tell who's who. Maria, what do you think about? I thought some great analysis. What do you think about Coach's comments there, Maria?
I loved every word, and I agree with every word. And my question is, I meet so many people. It seems that it's hard for them. The time management, it's hard, I think, for everybody because it's about learning yourself and finding the blocks but the baby steps and the patience, and I can understand as a child, that's where you start learning about patience. But grown adults who are in business, they seem to want it to happen quickly. It's not even about fear or success. They feel defeated because they can't reach a goal immediately. And I try explaining, you just be patient, baby steps, little goals, something to make it manageable. And it doesn't mean you're a failure. It just takes time to get there. Yeah. And I was wondering, how have you found that how have you been able maybe to help people see that the baby steps or the goals is the right
that 3-foot toss? And I've actually did this with a woman where I'm in the West Coast, she's on the East Coast. I actually had her do this over the phone, and you could hear her hustling and laughing. But I just didn't. I said, so you just let me know when the resistance comes. She's like, I'm feeling resistance. Where's the resistance coming from? You're the only one in the room. Where's the resistance coming from? Well, it's an internal thing. So the depth that she backed up, she put more pressure on herself. She recognized that. I also taught this in basketball. So we're always telling people, shoot within your range, shoot within your range. They don't know what that means. But if you take them out and start at the basket, 3 feet from the basket, and you work out to 5 feet, 7 feet, 10 feet, and see what their comfort level is. Okay, 18 feet out, you can't shoot, but you're good at 16 feet. So now they know where their range is. They know where their comfort is. They know at that they're confident. Now they can step and move forward. So yes, when I talk to people, I literally give them little small concepts like that, then they understand the principle of it. And after that, the key is you give them a small little thing to practice on that would expand on that concept or that principle. And when they get it, it goes from here to here, and that's what unlocks the belief system.
Yeah.
And now they
That's
go,
beautiful.
oh, I can do this. And so when they think about far out, they go, no, that's too many steps. And they bring it back. And that's been my blessing. That's been my secret sauce. Principle before application. And that's golden for me.
That is awesome.
I say for me because I'm sharing, you know.
No, absolutely.
Yes.
That is fantastic. You know, it's actually the next point I wanted to share as part of our side hustler time management guide is building putting within your sort of blocking time, categorizing time, setting these goals is to build an accountability structure. So whether it's through apps that, you know, kind of help you sort of monitor your progress, or, you know, which I think tends to work better, which is developing a network of people that help you hold accountable to sort of your goals within these timeframes that you're setting for yourself, I think is very important. And obviously with the kind of coaching that you've done on the court and off the court, Coach, you know, that's what it's about, right? It's holding not only you as a supervisor or a coach, holding your team accountable, but it's when it's working right, the supervisor of a team doesn't have to do it because we're doing it amongst ourselves.
Yes.
So that's something that's very important. So what are your thoughts about first you, Coach, and then Maria, about sort of creating accountability structures to make your time efficient?
Well, when I look at accountability, okay, and I don't want to say different, but I like to call them unique. You know, everybody, because it's encouraging myself, you know.
Yes, I agree. Encouraging words are better.
It's good. So some people like accountability, some people don't. So if you don't like accountability, then call it achievability partner.
Nice.
Because you're still trying to reach that same spot, right? So bottom line is accountability. When I look at leadership is by permission. So accountability is leadership by permission. The person knows, hey, look, if I got to do this on my own and I wake up and I say, I'm going to do this, but I know myself and I don't do what I say I'm going to do, you need somebody to hold you accountable to what you said. It's not what I'm telling you.
That's right.
You've given me permission
That's right.
that you said you want to do these things. And so when you're not doing these things, you're saying, I have the right to come in and call you on your shift.
That's right.
If I can say it.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then you go, oh, you're right. And I can tell how bad you want it if you're willing to receive that type of instruction,
Absolutely.
that type of coaching, that type of teaching, that kind of training, that kind of dedication. You've put that effort and you said, I'm going to pay this person to hold me to what I said is the standard I want to keep and the level that I want to achieve. So when you allow that to happen, that's when change starts to happen right now. That's where that accountability, just the thought of knowing, oh, crap, I got to talk to Brother Ray, and I'm not going to talk to him for the third time and tell him I didn't get done what I said I wanted to do.
That's right.
That's not going to happen. It puts you into action. You understand what I'm saying?
And as part of that, that's why it's so important, this sort of this blocking of time, because it's like we oftentimes are better about, well, you know, I mean, we're oftentimes taught at least to put down our goals, put down, you know, our financial budgets. But then when you actually sit down and really sit down and lay out physically so you can see it and really acknowledge it, like, okay, how am I going to use this hour? How am I going to, you know, then it gives you, it makes it much more likely you're going to achieve those goals because you're matching the goal to the time that you have. Because,
correct,
you know, oftentimes we're so ambitious, right? We want, I mean, look, it's almost 11 o'clock at night on the East Coast, and there's a dozen of us sitting here talking about this. I mean, we're obviously passionate about it, and we want to get this done. Right? We want to rock and roll, and you know, I want to become the Oprah Puerto Rican dude as quickly as possible. But unless you, when you really sit down and say, okay, the reality is I have 15 hours this week. So what can I get done in 15 hours this week, right? So then, then it's like you said, Coach. Then it's about owning it and giving up. You know, maybe what we like to say is ambitious, but achievable goal for that week, and then you're just sort of matching those things up in a nice way. That's when the accountability can really work, because it's not like you just created this crazy goal, but at the same time, it's also like you didn't shoot so low that, you know, at the end of the day, well, that's going to take me a half hour when I then I can, then I'm going to sit there and binge watch something for the other two.
Yeah. And the thing about coaching, and I'll let Maria finish.
No, go.
The thing about coaching, when we really get to coaching people, once somebody knows what they want, see, before they know what they want, I look at this and I go, I'm a teacher and a coach. I got both. And there's different hats and all that stuff. We can talk about all that. But teaching, when I'm teaching and I'm in teaching mode, teachers give instruction too. They help you understand. They help you learn. So when you make a mistake, teacher's not upset, because without the mistake, how do you learn and how do you grow? Yeah. That's teaching. And I love teaching. But when I'm coaching, I'm not teaching. When you're teaching, learning is the most important thing.
I love it. When
you're coaching, screw learning. Winning is the only important thing. Okay. People lose their jobs because you didn't win. I don't have time to teach you how to do a layup when I'm coaching. You need to do, I need somebody who can give me that layup and put it in the basket.
That's right.
There's a difference.
Absolutely.
So when people finally know what they want and where they want to go and all that stuff, coaching comes in and holds them accountable to those things that they want to achieve so they can get the results. And that's why we say, hey, here is some homework. People don't like that homework. I like it because I love it. You're going home and you're going to do the work. Okay? If you're not willing to do the work at your own home, come on now.
That's right. That's right.
If you're willing to do the work, I'm willing to help you as all best I can. If you're not willing to do the work, then you're telling me I have to fight you to help you get to where you said you want to be. And I'm tired of pointing my finger at you and saying it's your fault.
That's right.
So you're going to have to help me.
I love that.
Get yourself from where you say you want to be, move it there. And that's what I love it. So
absolutely.
Anyway,
actually, this if folks are hardcore podcasters out there may be familiar with the Internet Business Mastery podcast, and they actually had a whole conversation on this week's episode about the new. Well, you just said you were much more succinct about it. They did a whole episode about it around the difference between coaching and consulting. So it's very similar to the conversation. So if someone is interested in listening to a more in-depth conversation about it, check out Internet Business Mastery this week. Maria, what are your thoughts about this accountability piece?
Accountability. Thank you. I find it can be helpful, but with the right person, the right people. And I agree with what Coach said, because you have to be ready. And that's the part that I think, again, knowing yourself. Are you really ready? If you're not, maybe you're scared. Why are you not ready? But accountability, at least for me, works with someone that understands my pain points, understands where I'm coming from. But I expect from myself to be, to point the finger at me. If I'm not going to meet certain expectations, I won't blame the person that actually holds me accountable. And I find it works well, though, that I work well with having a partner, someone that will support me on my goals and making small goals versus me making small goals and not achieving them. For a long time, I got frustrated because I would have lists and I wouldn't, get them done. But if I worked with another entrepreneur on it, then I would meet those expectations because I would do it so that I'd make sure I'd have it done by the next call. And
that scarcity mindset. Hey, look, I'm gonna get in trouble unless I get this done with so-and-so. And that's a good thing.
Absolutely. You can't do it alone. I think Tachi said it on one of her shows recently. She said, none of us are going to be really successful by ourselves. I mean, we got to do it as a team. So, Maria, why don't you lay out the next principle that we laid out here for Hustler Time Management Guide?
Well, the next one would be to eliminate distractions, which I'm sure we all have. Oh, man, I know when I start. Let me show you mine. Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, you and your Facebook messages. When are you? The distractions are the worst, and it was really hard for me to start getting rid of them, so bad that it started with Facebook, then email and so forth. And now I just stay laser focused on my to-do things in the day, because it takes out an hour or 2 hours. You'll find yourself reading an article, browsing the net, or doing something, watching, whether it's an hour TV show, and the day's done and you haven't done half of what you wanted to do. So eliminate distractions, find your distractions, and ixnay.
Well, it's sitting right there, but the thing, and I need to, I do it, then I stop, then I do it, I stop, which is one of the things I find which saves me time is is to delete the Facebook app on my phone.
Mm.
Because I mean, you can look at it literally 100 times a day. It's right there, and it's just one of those things that, I mean, obviously there's a lot of things that can distract you, but I know that's the one that, I mean, there's just so many notifications because there's just so many things going on, and family and birthdays and people replying to something we put up, and it just goes on and on and on and on and on. So, Coach, how do you recommend to the people that you coach, again, on and off the court, about that focus piece and sort of try to minimize distraction?
Remember, I come from principle before application.
Okay.
So I will tell them, I'll start off with somebody, okay, we're going to talk about distractions. And you say you'd be distracted. So what do you mean by distracted or distracting? What is your definition of distracting? And what are some of the ways that you get distracted? And in the principle, from my belief and my understanding, a lot of times we think we're distracted by, quote, bad things, things that are not good for us. That is not the case.
Interesting, yeah.
We are distracted by what we perceive as good things.
Yeah.
Because when we know something is bad for us, we're not going to let that get in the way because we know it's bad for us. We're distracted. Now, some people will say, well, there's some things I do. I know it's bad for me. I go, no. You say it's bad for you, but inside there's something that goes, no, this is okay. This is okay. So we're distracted by good things. I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to go and I'm going to get my day started. I'm going to write down my list. I'm going to make the calls. And all of a sudden somebody calls you that you hadn't talked to in a long time and they need your help. Well, it's a good thing. I'm a coach. I'm going to help so-and-so. Yes. They're not paying for anything, but that's a good thing. I feel good about that. They're going to feel, but that's a distraction.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying?
That's true.
So there's a lot of things that we'll do, like the Facebook. If you're not disciplined to go, okay, I'm going to check my Facebook when I first get up, or I'm going to check my Facebook at the end of the day, or I'm going to check my Facebook at lunch. I'm going to check my Facebook 3 times a day. And here are the times. If you're not set on what you're going to do, when you're going to do it, how you're going to do it, why you're going to do it, and all the reasons that you're going to do it, you are going to get distracted. It's going to take you off what you wanted to do. So if you're doing something and something else pulls you from that, that is a distraction. Some distractions we have to take. My kid's hurt. I got to take that distraction. Okay.
Of course.
Yeah.
If it's not urgent, and I mean urgent, it might be important, but if it's not urgent, do not let that distract you. Stay focused. Focus is do one thing, finish it, and then do something else, finish it, then do another, finish it. Yep. You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
It's that simple.
Absolutely. Yeah. Maria, what do you do to minimize distractions? What's a tip you can share with us?
I hold myself accountable, and I love what Coach is saying here because I find he's true to himself, or the tips, advice that, a lot of people don't have that. It's not a distraction if you choose to do it, or it is a distraction, but if you're choosing, it's not a bad thing. It's not someone else's fault. So I have that. Luckily for me, I hold myself accountable. That's why I get frustrated when I don't do the things, but I'm understanding with myself. There are fear factors. There are a lot of things when it comes to building your own business. And it takes a lot of time to get to know yourself to the extent to know why you're not moving forward, in addition to building a positive support system. So with me, it works that I say, you didn't do it. You chose not to do it. I will accept that. And then I'll say, I'll forgive myself. Tomorrow's another day. I can try it again. But I hold myself. And if I have to get angry at anybody, I get angry at me for not taking the time that I knew I had to do something. I turn off all my notifications. I turn off my email. And if I choose to look at my WhatsApp or something, then I'm choosing to be distracted the same way if I choose to get a phone call. But if I choose to get a phone call, I say, well, I guess I thought it was best to spend time with someone. So just. And
it could be a routine habit.
Yes.
That's right.
That we do. And that's what they call, procrastination. No, this is just that habit you need to change. You need to break because it's a time stealer.
Absolutely.
It is.
Yeah, no, I mean, for me, it's about getting in a quiet place because, we get, I'm like, when I'm not on Blab, this is who I am. I'm telling you, All the people out here, Maria's just starting to get the experience. I mean, I'm on social media, putting stuff about the political stuff, cultural stuff. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw the Lin-Manuel Miranda from Hamilton, the amazing Broadway musical, was at the White House, and he did a freestyle rap with Obama, and it was so cute. It just mixed my whole. It was like it summed up all the wonderful things about our country in like a minute and a half, because it was regal, it was really cool, it was hip hop, it was Latino, Black, and all that. So it's like I mean, I must have spent 20 minutes back and forth with friends about that whole how wonderful that moment was in the video, and it's just like it can distract you so easily in a fun way, but so for me, I have to be in a quiet place because I crave the interaction with people, so, and with this stuff, it's, writing and creating pitches to companies, and it's, there's a lot of times you have to just kind of focus on producing content and other things. So it's just one of those things. It's not my strength, I'll be honest with you, but I'm amazed when I'm like, I'll go to another room here in my house, which tends to be where I can do writing and other things. And I'm like, wow, I got so much done this hour. I wish I could find more quiet time, but we're getting there. And Tatiana's down with Lin-Manuel Miranda. So just what a super talent, that guy. So no doubt about it. So the last one we wanted to mention in our time management guide, and we super appreciate everyone checking us out here at Race Talk Show and Race Podcast, and again, this is kind of one of those things, mindset, thinking outside the box for many of us, is the power of delegation. We don't all have to do all of it. And a lot of times it's with the limited time that we have, that's even more important. And I want to give a shout out to Donna Gonzalez McIntyre. That's my booker now for the show. She helps us book guests, and that saves me a tremendous amount of time. And it also helps me with an accountability partner, because I know, okay, next week we need a couple guests, and and her and I go back and forth, and she pushes me to also think outside the box about guests. She goes, hey, we need more. We need different types of voices, and
topics,
sort of, kind of the outside of the people that we normally have. So, and we have healthy discussions about that. But it's anyway, delegation. Obviously, the next step of that potentially is outsourcing things and investing financially into either virtual assistants or just outsourcing tasks to people that can probably do them better than you can, and you can free up your time to do what you do best. So, what are your thoughts, Maria, about the power of delegation?
I find it essential, but when you're starting a side hustle or business, obviously budget can be a problem. Yeah, however, I also believe if you're a professional or anything you do, you're going to need somebody to help. So you can delegate different ways. It's either through a virtual assistant or you can exchange services. I've found that to be useful. And you need to trust. Some people, they don't trust outsourcing their work for some reason. And I get it. In Europe, there's a different mindset about competition and, people stealing your ideas and things. But when it comes to the US, and I find entrepreneurs who are like, they want to learn how to do every piece of their business because they don't trust someone else is going to do it. I don't know how you expect to succeed when it takes a group of people to do something together, especially if you're looking to grow. I mean, if you're looking to stay the same way. So, okay, but you're going to have to delegate to someone. And hopefully you have a support system, whether it's friends or family to start off with. I have some friends and family, and then I have colleagues that I exchange the services with, and eventually it'll be outsourcing to VAs or other types of freelancers.
Absolutely, and I'm gonna have someone on the show in April, hopefully, that is going to help us discuss the power of virtual assistants and how it's not as it can be, depending on what you're kind of the type of services you're looking for, very very cost effective. So that's something that I'm looking to get into this year, and and again, it really challenges us to really just kind of think about things in a different way. I mean, that's one of the things that Tim Ferriss in 4 Hour Workweek discusses quite a bit about. Basically he literally was like outsourcing most of his day job to someone so you free him up to make a higher per hour doing stuff on the side. Coach, what do you think about delegation? Obviously, in sports and the kind of sort of phys ed coaching you've done, that's essential. But what are your thoughts about sort of teamwork and sort of delegating things out?
Well, it's like you said from the beginning. No one can do it alone, and you weren't created to do anything by yourself.
That's right.
So I like, God created Adam. He said, it's not good that the man be alone. So I will make him a helper. You need someone to help you. because you're not supposed to try to do everything yourself. You have certain talents, gifts, and abilities. We call them your strengths. And there's other stuff that you're weak at or you just don't want to do. You need to give that to somebody else. But I like what Maria said. This is a control thing. This is a trust thing. So if you're unwilling to trust somebody with some small piece, then how can you get other people to trust you with that small piece in their life? And you want them to pay for that. So I think it's reaping what you sow. So delegation is find somebody that you think is adequate or good at the job, good at what they do, transfer it all over to them, and just trust the end result is going to give you what you want. Don't worry about their style and how they do it and all that stuff. You can talk about all that, but the bottom line is I don't really care people's style. And I did a personal assessment just this last weekend, and I got the info, in fact, yesterday. And the guy, one of the things they said, you don't really care. And I said, no, I don't. And so I got the assessment, and I've never done this. And
what's that called? What was the system called there?
JPEA assessment.
Oh, okay, yeah. So that, yeah, there's a couple real common ones that people use.
Yeah, but one of the things that it said, and I got all sorts of notes on this sucker.
Oh wow, look at that!
But down here at the bottom, see that one and that one?
Yeah.
Job security, autonomy. I like to do things by myself, but it says that if I really want to get something done, then I'm going to give it to somebody. I'm not worried about how they do it as long as they give me the results I want.
Absolutely.
So what we're really talking about is you trusting people that they are also professionals that you can give something to, not worry about it, and they can give you the results that you're looking for. That's really what you need to do. So at some point in your business, you're going to realize that you don't have enough time in the day to do everything. You're going to run into that. And at that point, you're going to do time management and delegation. They're going to come right smack into you.
Felix Montalada has some comments in the chat room. I want to note delegation's a two-way street. One has to delegate to the correct person. I'm going to put in the show notes for the show, and I'll let this crew look up the Management Center. That's a company that I've worked with, and they do some great training and have some resources on their website. I think it's managementcenter.org, if I'm not mistaken, and that talk about basically how do you prepare a new staffer on the front end to invest the time into basically making sure they have the tools that they need to succeed. So you don't have to keep going back and correcting or sort of kind of end up doing it for them anyway. So it's sort of to invest that time on the front end is going to save you a lot of time moving forward. And they have some really good thoughts about that. So and Felix is announcing that he just hired the first assistant or the first staffer for the Potencial Millonario Media. So that's props to you, Felix. So would love to hear about how your assistant's going. So what we're going to do is we're going to wrap up the formal podcast version of the show. And so I'll ask Maria and Coach to give people their shout outs. We'll stop taping. I'll stick around. We can continue this conversation or talk about whatever's in the
Ray, you have to finish the last guide, the last number one.
Oh, yes. Well, I was going to tease that they go on the website, but that's okay. Because you called it out. I'll throw it out for the group. So, the last one, I didn't want to, it's a value judgment. And I'm going to keep it real. It's not one I do, but it's one we have to think about. And it's one that a coworker of mine does. She takes her 2 weeks of vacation every year, and she works on her side hustle. And so it's like one of those things where, how much is it worth to you, right?
Yeah.
So it's, I think we all take a day here and there, to do what we got to do. But it's one of those things where we do have time like that, right? Whether it's sick time or vacation time. And, many of us are proud of all these vacation days that we have accrued. And it's like, well, you could probably invest some of that into your life. You know what I'm saying? So that gets us to literally 20 weeks plus, if you add it all up. And again, you don't have to use all 20, or you can invest other time in other ways. But we just wanted people thinking about, when you get stuck in this mental lapse about, I'm trying to break away and do this full time, but I don't have any time because I have this job, but I don't have enough time to break away from the job. And we all go through it. I go through it. you know. And but the bottom line is that you have to make peace with the time you got and your circumstances and just utilize them to the fullest. I mean, Blab helps me be accountable because when you're doing a podcast, when you do it at what time, it's not as big a deal. But, you know, when you have a loyal audience and you make a commitment on the shows you're going to be on here Tuesday and Thursday, like I end up doing closer to 6 or 7 times a month just because work commitments, sometimes I'm traveling. But, you know, I've been pretty consistent in it. You all hold me more accountable and the platform holds me more accountable to doing the show on a more consistent basis. So that was it. So the last 2 weeks, if you're really trying to do this for real, and you don't have maybe some of the personal commitments others have, it's a thought, you know, it's 2 weeks, you can get a lot done. So as we wrap up again, the taping of the show, and again, I'm not going anywhere. People want to sit around and chat. And a few of our buddies here tend to jump on when we stop taping. So we end up having another
camera shy.
Race Talk Show after dark is always intriguing.
Don't leave, Coach.
But Coach, let the podcast audience know where they can find your social media and any other thoughts you have about the Side Hustlers Time Management Guide today.
Well, I'm on Facebook, and you know, facebook.com/Dell baby. And in fact, I'll put that in the
long lost Splash brother.
.com/DELBABY. And they can also email me. I'll put that in there as well.
Awesome. And Coach, are you doing your own show on Blab, or you just bounce around?
You know, I was bouncing around. I've only been on here a little more than 30 days. And I'm like, I need to do a show.
You should.
And, you know,
you should.
Coach, you need to do a show. And then it's like, okay, so what am I going to do the show on? Because, you know, I've done a lot of things. And I was going, I'll do sales. Like, oh, there's a lot of people out here doing sales. Well, I'll do relationships. Well,
but nobody does it your way. You shouldn't worry about it. I mean, you should do
well,
what
that's
you want
true.
to,
So,
you know?
well, let me ask you this. You could help me. See, you give to receive.
Absolutely.
I'll help you.
Absolutely.
She goes, I'll help
Got a
you.
whole bunch of people in the Race family going to help you, brother.
Yeah, so it's I was thinking, and I do years ago I was doing Gerard Motivations.
Okay.
Because a young lady, she said, now I know as a coach, now forgive me for some people, you might go, that's not true, Coach, but here's what I was there. I understand motivation. Motivation is, and let me talk into the motivation is that which moves you to action. Mm-hmm. So if I said, what motivates you? You go, what do you mean? What is that thing that moves you to action? Inspiration is part of motivation. Inspiration breathes in life. And when people are inspired, they have newness of life. They feel like, I'm energized. So everything's fresh. And now they get motivated. Mm-hmm. And a lot of things can motivate people. Well, I would say, no, you know, I don't motivate people. People get inspired and that's how they get motivated. And I was going through all this stuff. And she sat there. She was cool too. She sat there. She said, okay, so let me get this straight. People come to you to coach and all this other stuff. Yeah. And you help them, right? Yep. And they literally say to you, do you motivate people? Are you a motivational speaker? And you go, no. And they go, well, you're very inspiring. Are you a pastor? And all that stuff. No. And she goes, and you wonder why you don't have clients. And that thing, I mean, it was like, poof. And I was like, okay, so what should I call the business? Gerard Motivations. That's what we're calling it. So,
yeah, I mean, Mike, first of all, I think it's like anything else. I think you should just kind of test it out and work your material on here and just kind of have a set time when it's the coach hour or something. But I think in general, I think what intrigues me, Coach, about your profile and your presence on here is that you combine, you know, your with your athletic background, your coaching background. I think that attracts a lot of people, right? Because it's like, oh, you know, this guy. But then you also bring kind of this business a training perspective, and I think it's that combination.
The sales, the motivational sales training is there.
Yeah,
and also, see, I have the Christian side, the biblical side, the spiritual side, which I don't talk about, but people get inspired. But that's where it comes from,
and it comes out of purpose. You know, it comes out in your flow, and then what's cool about it because. Look, the reality is sports coaches, the stereotype is like they're just brusque loudmouths. and the fact that you bring that, but you're bringing the lessons of motivating teams on and off the court, I think is a big part. You know, that's one of the things that makes you. You know what I mean? I like calling you coach because that's your handle. And
you know, it's amazing.
It's cool, you know, it's like people respond to that.
They do. They call me. Of course, the kids call me Coach Gerard, and the other adults, they don't call me Coach Dell. But I want them to remember my name, so I put Coach Dell. Sure. But they call me Coach.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so I love it. He's like, Coach, yep, and I think it's a respect thing.
Absolutely,
and it helps with them also when they speak it. It helps elevate me, if I can say it that way, to a position of authority.
Yeah, absolutely.
You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And so I don't have a problem with that either.
Absolutely, no. It's a lot of cool stuff about it. And Felix is saying on the chat room, just do it. So we're going to hold you accountable, Coach. You need to start a show. You should do.
Look at this.
Every 2 weeks or something. Set a day and time. We'll come on there. We'll promote it, and so keep us posted on that. You need your own show. It'll be a lot of fun.
I do want to do it. I do believe it's time.
Absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. So,
I think so too.
Maria,
we have some great stuff to share.
Let people know, and we're gonna get into Maria's last announcement in a second. But let people know where they can find you on social media before we discuss your next adventure.
Well, you can find me on Twitter at Luna12780. It's the easiest way, and then we can share emails or other information. And I did want to mention I do hold a podcast on americasfootprints.com. It's called Make a Difference Spotlight, where we spotlight stories of people making a difference. If you're looking for some inspiration, that would be, we talk about a lot of stories of people doing nice things for other people. So any of the people that are part of the race crew would be great for your show. But yes. I have one person in particular I definitely want to share. Well, many, but one in particular would be great if we could make that happen. But we're always looking for that. So yes.
Oh yeah, no, I got a lot, but there's one or two that in particular I wanted to talk about sooner than later. And we do have some sad news because Maria will be taking a temporary hiatus from being my co-host. She's done a fantastic job this last week, but it's not really sad because we're just gonna have some time zone conflicts because Maria, let people know where you're headed.
I'm heading to Naples, Italy, and so 10 p.m. is 4 a.m., which is...
And how long will you be in the motherland, Maria?
Yes, until about October. I'll let you know.
How terrible.
Yes.
How terrible.
Yes, I know. I'm bummed out. I really am. I love this show, and if I can ever be up around 4 a.m. and
we'll figure it out.
Isn't that a time management thing?
It's 4 a.m. in the morning.
We'll make it happen.
Yeah.
We'll do a special show on a better hour.
Once a week, twice a week. Come on now.
We'll figure it out. Well, I do a show twice a week.
We'll figure it out. Yeah.
We'll figure it out. No, you'll definitely be. You'll be back.
Yes.
Hey, look. If these Europeans get up at odd hours to watch these soccer matches, they could do a race talk show once in a while. But Maria. All jokes aside, you've been such a great new addition to our family, and safe travels first of all. And,
thank you.
And the way it's going with the political stuff, Maria, you may just be safer where you're at. Okay, so we'll make sure we keep, regardless of where you end up, the safest spot you can find here in 6 months. You'll be part of the family. But all jokes aside, Maria, thank you again, and again, we'll continue the conversation after taping. Thank you again for the podcast listeners and people watching the replay for watching and listening to Ray's talk show. Again, if you feel like you're at the crossroads of life, feel like a caged bird, you're like, I'm doing okay, but I got another gear here. There's so much I can share. You've come to the right place with great friends like Coach and Maria. If it's personal development, helping career growth, you're trying to figure out your brand online, build your platform, you've come to the right place. We're here for you. You've got Ray's talk show every Tuesday and Thursday night, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, and again, you can check out all of our content. We do live streams. I'm on Periscoping. I'm on Mevi and other platforms on occasion. You can check out all of our content at BigBrotherRay.com. Thank you so much and have a fantastic day.